whispers call, paranormal tales that fall. Expedition files, through the dark and through the wild. Chasing truth where myths reside. UFOs light up the sky. Footprints deep in muddy trails. Cryptic stories never fail. Lights above the midnight haze. Mysteries that set ablaze. Expedition files, through the dark and through the wild. Chasing truth where myths reside. UFOs light up the sky.
Only on Animal Expedition Files. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the Animal on Animal Expedition Files. Thank you so much for joining me. Sorry, I've been rambling. I've been on the Big Mama Radio this morning talking about some crazy news going on in this world. But thank you so much for joining me tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I got amazing people that in the background that is going to be joining me. I'm so excited about it. Ernie Davieau will be joining me in a minute, but we want to talk a little bit about how you doing. And for some reason, I don't know why my chat is not working, but I can't see my chat room. And I don't know if people can see it, but I'm going to type hey. Hope everybody can see that. But anyways, we're going to make it work. But hey, how's it going? So please like and subscribe on my show. I appreciate it. Couldn't do it without you guys. This is awesome to be able to do this every week with you guys. So yeah. So if you are seeing this, please comment so I can see everything, what's going on. I'm gonna try to overlay this and see if oh, I can see. Hey, for some reason, wow, I can see that. Hey, Stacy, how's it going? How's it going? Hey, Pamela. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, I don't know why it's not shown on my chat for some reason. It's, yeah, I don't get it. I don't know. Let me see. But we're gonna have fun. But anyways, I'll put it like that so I can see my chat, and we'll go from there. And once I get Ernie on here, I'm gonna have to take it off here because this is a special night. We are actually recording for the documentary for Cobble Mountain Critter project. So very excited about that. So Ernie's going to be talking about his experiences at Cobble Mountain. So we're going to have a lot of good talk with him. But also we got some UFO news here that we're going to be talking about. So check this out with me and see what you think.
from an expert. Now let's talk to a witness. Christopher Bledsoe says he's not only seen UFOs, but he can summon them on command. It started when Bledsoe went on a fishing trip in 2007. He says he saw an orb that followed him home. And he still sees the orbs above his house to this day. He's become something of a psychological phenomenon. His experience is so compelling that both NASA and the CIA have studied his brain. Even the History Channel's documenting it. They filmed him IDing an orb live. Watch.
He's pointing now, so maybe he's focusing on one. That would make sense.
He has one. He's got one in the tree line. When we started seeing that intense effort, he spotted an orb in the tree line.
Let's turn it over to Christopher Bledsoe, who personally witnessed UFOs. So, Chris, the CIA studying you, NASA studying you, the History Channel studying you. Tell Jesse Waters Primetime the truth. You can summon alien orbs.
Summon alien orbs. How is that possible?
It's been happening for the last 15 years, and I ask them to come, and they come, and I don't know why. But
I wish I could do that.
And
I'd be like, can you pick me up?
500 videos.
That's what I would do.
4 months, like you're seeing there.
How do you ask them?
I just simply say a prayer. That's all I do. And
I'd be like, can you bring me some pizza or nachos or Taco Bell?
Do you think
that's how it happens?
Do you think there might be something wrong with you?
No,
Maybe.
I don't think so. I think the government's trying to figure out why this is happening. They have been for quite some time.
I know, it's pretty
How did
crazy.
it start?
Well, it started in 2007. I was down on my luck. I'd lost.
Okay, there's a video. It's a very long video, so didn't want to go too long on that. Let's see if this chat still works. No, it's not working. But we're gonna bring Ernie on here. I'm gonna hide the chat here. Sorry guys, I won't be able to see your chat. I'll go back and forth, but I'll be able to see it on and off here. But if you're listening, just put it on there and we'll overlay it here on and off, because some reason things are not wanting to work for me, and that always happens when something really cool is happening. So we're gonna bring Ernie on, and we're gonna have some fun here, and we're gonna talk about his passion about Bigfoot. So let's bring him on. What's up, buddy? How's it going?
Hey, pretty good. Not too bad at all. I just
Good.
want to let you know I can see everybody's comments on here. So
Yeah, it's weird. For some reason, every time like something happens, like there's always a technological issue that happens on my end, and it always happens to me. It's like it's something like maybe like my house is haunted or something, or my studio, because it always happens to me.
hey, you've been in haunted places before. You know what I'm saying?
I
That
know.
Canner house up there. There's a perfect example right there. I think I was the only one who slept, and only because there wasn't a door on my room. My door was not opening and closing.
You know what's funny? Talking about the Manor House, like that place was so cool and had a creep factor to it, but like
Yeah.
I barely slept because there was so much. Like, you know what old places, it creaks every time you step, so like you kind of think it's someone walking down the hallway when it's really not.
I really
just-
can't tell because I'm old. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it's my bones or if it's just the floorboards. that are-
Yeah, I kept like the door kept opening and everything, so I'm like, what is going on here? Well, we got some craziness happening going on here.
Well, Tim and Eric are here, so hello to those guys. Cryptid Bits, hello to them.
Oh, what's up, everybody? All right, I just put the overlay thing on.
Pamela, hey.
What is going on, guys? I'm like I said, I'm gonna come and check. Hey, Denny, how's it going? Some of the people here that are on right now actually was on Big Mama Radio this morning on the chat, so it was really cool, really
Coffee
awesome to
drinkers.
see you guys.
Coffee
So,
drink.
it's awesome seeing them again tonight. So this is very special, and I'm very excited and honored to have you here with me. And we're gonna
Same here.
turn this down a little bit so it gets a little serious. So how you doing, man? How's everything going since you've been?
I'm hanging in there. I think my availability next year is going to increase by 100% because I think it. I don't think I know that I will be officially. I'm a butcher, so I will be officially putting my knives down. Maybe not forever. You know, I don't know. Telling maybe somebody needs a cow cut up or a deer or something like that. I'll help them out.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think I'm just done with the job, the public, everything. You know, I just want to maybe go grow some fruit trees in
Yeah.
Kentucky. Okay, that's where we're headed, to Kentucky.
Yeah.
Anybody's got any information on Kentucky, people, friends in Kentucky, please let me know. Okay, I need to have friends down there in Kentucky.
Go bigfooting and everything. Have some
Well,
fun.
I don't know about that. I've been told that I need to wear snake bite boots up to my neck.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Listen to you. I don't need, really, seriously. Okay. I was told not to even go out in my yard unless I have a sidearm on me. Okay. I'm not digging that. Let's go there.
You have to do that anyways in Florida. You have to make sure.
No, you don't. No, you don't have to. You don't have to. Okay. But things have a tendency to get. There's a lot of them. For some reason in Kentucky, a lot. Now I will say this though, in Florida, they are big. I've seen some 9+ foot long rattlesnakes in Florida that could eat a small dog.
Oh yeah.
So let's.
We got anacondas.
I'm not going to think about it. Okay. I'm not gonna think
No.
about it. That's up for them to think about it. Okay. There'll be fertilizer for my lawn if they're in my yard.
That's awesome. Hey Ernie, let me ask you this question. What drew you to the Bigfoot mystery? Was it evidence, experience, or intuition? Like what drew that passion?
My whole life I passed it off. I call them my elders because it was a mixture of family members that we would go hunting together. My dad and stuff. They never spoke about it, so I passed off a lot of things that were happening. I just give you one, for instance. My great uncle was getting he was getting a lot older, and it was getting harder for him to get out in the woods. So he had a special spot he wanted to go to. So we gave up our hunting area, my brother and I, to go there with him out of respect for him. And it was really tough for us to give that spot up. But when we got there was about 6 inches, maybe a little bit more snow on the ground, and we were told to walk the fire road. Now I think I was maybe 10 years old at the time. My brother was younger than me, and we had a shotgun to share a shotgun between the two of us. My father and my great uncle took the wood side, our right hand side, to try to drive something out to go across that fire road. But what had happened was they told us that if we came across anything strange, to hit the walkie-talkie, click the walkie-talkie, and then go back to where we had started off, to our called like an LZ or whatever, with my dad, And what had happened was we come across footprints in the snow, and I don't know anything about this stuff. I'm thinking there's some weirdo running around up here. He's not dressed properly.
Yeah.
We need to go back.
Bigfoot creature, like a human.
So we did, and we met up with my uncle and my father, and they said they would speak in French. They're French Indian. I'm French Indian. Okay?
Oh wow.
And just kind of found out. I thought I was over 50%, but I didn't know what percentage. We just found out that we're actually 87% Cree. So, anyways, they started talking and everything, and they said they'll be right back. And they went up the road to check the tracks out. And about a half an hour later, they came back, and they said we have to leave. Now, I was inside me. I was infuriated because it's like we haven't been here very long, and you want to leave? I gave up my happy hunting ground to this right here, and I asked what the problem was, and my dad said, my uncle didn't want to say a darn word, but my dad said, we're not supposed to be here. We were told to leave. So that was it right there. And I had seen other things that happened to me while hunting, but again, I passed them off, and they were blatant. They were right there, you know. So what got me into it was my encounter. That's what really got me into it. The Patterson film, yeah, I seen that a long time ago. Whenever it came out, whenever I seen it, I passed it off. I said, you know, there's probably one of them running around. You know, somebody probably shot it or died from old age. There isn't any more. But it was like my dream. Everybody's dream is to get the biggest deer, the biggest fish, and, or maybe see a dinosaur or a pterodactyl. You know, every kid growing up in my generation wanted to had heroes. We had heroes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was it for me. And I figured that there's no way I'm ever going to see one, you know. So I passed everything off, only to have this happen to me. And I can tell you right now that if somebody came out and told me that they had seen a Bigfoot or whatever 40 years ago, I would have thought you were a complete nutcase. that you had got your hands on some bad crack or acid or whatever it was that you're doing, and you don't need to be talking to me for very long. I don't want to be your friend because you're scaring me. You know? So you can imagine where my mind was after the encounter.
Yeah.
You know, you can put yourself in those shoes and try to decide what are you going to do. And when these people hear my testimony on this, is I knew that I must have some valuable information here, very valuable information. And so that's what I did for probably the first 2 weeks, try to make contact with somebody that would understand, you know.
Yeah.
First person was my dad. You know, after just a couple days, maybe 3 days, sat down at his breakfast table and I started to tell him, and he looked up at me and he says, "You know what?" He says, "I know." And I was like beside myself again. I'm saying to myself, "You knew, but you felt it was unnecessary to tell me." That's not cool. But then I can understand.
Yeah.
Now I can, because I didn't research them at first. I researched me. Why me, and what is it that pertains to me and maybe even other eyewitnesses. So I tried to find all the correlations in all the reports and everything, you know, which I did find a lot of stuff. And I don't know, I find that a lot of people aren't ready for that. We have our experiencers that are out there. We have our amateur researchers that are out there. They're doing really good now. And then we have our diehard researchers out there that think they're researchers, or Clouseaus or Sherlock Holmes. You know, that's okay, but don't ask me to live in your fantasy. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you have the real researchers out there that can write a report, and that's what it's going to take. Because after everyone hears this encounter, you're going to probably agree with me. You don't need a DB. Okay, you do not need that. Right? We have enough evidence. But the fact of the matter is let's say you get 50,000 people to listen to this today, out of 100,000 people that are your members or whatever. That means you have 50,000 people that didn't hear it. They're going to ask these questions later on, and it's up to the 50,000 who heard it to give them that information.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what basically that is what got me really involved with this, is why me and what the heck is going on here. My whole belief system was completely shot. There was no God for me anymore. There wasn't anything for me. My world completely crashed and burned on that. And it wasn't because of what my father said. It was because of what somebody else in this field that is very well known had said to me, and put me in a very bad place. And that's one of the reasons why I stand up where I stand, because I know what it feels like to be beaten, you know, and where it put me, my state of mind. So that's pretty much it, Josh.
Do you ever get people when you go to these conferences and stuff like that? Do you ever get challenged by people saying like, "Oh, that can't be real. That's not a real Bigfoot. Like that has to be like a bear or something"? Do you ever get these challenges from people like that?
Not in person. I've had them. I've read the comments. I don't normally comment back at all to people that are like that. They're entitled to their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some people say, "Well, how can you mistake a deer for that?" Well,
Mm-hmm.
it's real easy because of my training. I've been trained to take that peg and find a hole for it. If it doesn't fit in that hole, try another hole and keep
Yeah.
going. And that's where I'm at. I'm carrying a 12 gauge shotgun. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to just say, hey, there's a deer. I've been with people that have done that. I've had to take a gun away from somebody that's done that at close range, extremely close range, like within 10 yards of another human being. And it's your mind will play tricks on you.
Yep.
Under certain conditions, you will definitely believe that there is something there when there is not there. You need to know how to challenge yourself. We just had that conversation, I think, and I was stating that learn how to think outside the box. But first, identify where the box is.
Yeah.
Okay, because if you don't know where the box is, you're not going to think outside of it, and then you have to be able to recognize whether you're biased.
Yeah.
If I'm going too fast, anybody listening, chime in and say, you're going too fast or too much information here. You know, try not to do that Boston or the Worcester talk there that they just go yibbity yab really quick.
Yeah.
Like, what did he say?
What'd he say?
And there's no accent. I've had
Come
that.
on, man.
People say he can't be from Massachusetts. He pronounces his R's incorrectly. Well, okay. Maybe it was because I went to parochial school. All right. I don't know. But
Oh man.
those
Hey
things,
Patrick, how's it going?
but those things do happen. So that's it in a nutshell right there. Is not in person. I don't have that happen to me in person. It seems like if it was to happen, I would probably assure you that it would be from a guy. And usually when things are in person and there's an individual like that, they back way down. They take a big back step and they go, hold on a second. I've been challenged on the forums are like this on the podcast now because I've been on so many of them. People say things to me like, oh, how can anybody have 4 black belts? Perseverance, tenacity.
Yeah.
Nothing else going on in my life except me getting beat up by a lot of people and wanting to learn how to defend myself and having a goal. Okay, I had a goal. All right.
I have a black belt, but it's in something different. More in tacos, eating tacos.
I was going to say coffee.
Yeah, that's a different type of black belt.
So you have two. So you have 2 black belts.
Oh yeah, the toilet one too. We got that one there.
You and Tim Bogle can compete because he is the master coffee maker.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, which I'm drinking right now. Coffee. Bigfoot. We got that right there.
Yes, you go. So that's pretty much it, Josh.
Now, Mr. Ernie, we did meet at Cobble Mountain Critter Fest. That's where we first met. And actually where you had your experience, what was it, 30 years ago? 30, 40 years ago?
Almost 40 now. Yeah.
Almost 40 years ago. Now, before we talk a little bit about that, we met, like I said, we met at the fest where it was really cool because we got to meet a whole bunch of people. We got to do some Bigfooting, which I got to do with you a little bit too. And we heard some weird, crazy noises that I can't explain. I've been listening the crap out of I still have the recordings of it where they're just bickering back and forth.
Yeah,
so
great.
It's crazy because it's bugging the crap out of me because I keep listening to it, and it's just something amazing because you don't get to experience that a lot. Especially like going out a lot, you don't get to experience where they're communicating to each other or whatever it is. Mostly, probably in our case, Bigfoot.
Right. I just took that with kind of a grain of salt when I was on the back of the truck there, sitting there with Matt, only because I've actually seen them talk and using that chatter, using the samurai chatter.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to tell Tim Bogle, thank you, Tim. I just seen that message you sent in there. I appreciate that. Sitting on the back with Tim because I didn't go into one of the groups. He both broke off. I
Yeah,
sat on the back of the truck and tried to play the flute in a little bit of the rain there.
that
And
was cool.
we could hear him as plain as day right there. As a matter of fact, we were actually poking fun at what they were doing because we knew they were trying to flank you. Okay?
Yeah,
I knew they were trying to flank you, and I was telling Matt, I said, watch this, watch what's going to happen.
yeah.
And sure enough, they kept moving to the left,
Mm-hmm.
until we pulled their card on them with, I believe it was Jean Tewksbury. She was wearing a white jacket. And I sent her out to walk on the road because she would stick out like a sore thumb and
Yeah.
convince them that she was going to flank them, which made them move, and it wasn't just us that heard them. It was you, it was
Mm-hmm.
Richie, there was a big enough group there. And it was actually the first expedition of the Cobble Mountain Critter Project
Yeah.
there, which is a unique opportunity for
Yeah.
everybody.
It was an honor. Yeah, that was.
It was definitely an honor, and it is a unique organization. That's all I can tell people. It's going to roll. It definitely will roll. There's just so much that we are going to share, and it's just the ability of the person, particularly the experiencers.
Mhm.
You're going to have to know, and you're going to hear it in a second here or two. You're going to have to know what to do if one of them walks out in front of you.
Yeah.
You're going to have. You need something. Like in your line of work, you need something if a bear comes out in front of you or a croc or anything like that. Yeah, running away is not gonna work.
Nope. Not from these gators.
It might. Yeah, it might. They might not look at you as as something they can eat or something, or they're full. But this is completely different.
Yeah. Yeah, it was once I would have to say once in a lifetime like opportunity, because like you could experience Bigfoot anywhere, but I don't care. Those sounds were amazing, and
Absolutely.
I've never heard anything like that. And I've been doing this for over 20 years and been in the woods and doing ghost hunting, cryptid, you name it. And I've never heard anything like that, just the way they were talking to each other. And I think honestly, will I ever experience that again? I don't know. But like it's just cool to be able to know that I heard it. And it just gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. Hey Wojo, what's up, buddy? But speaking of Wojo, which was funny about that, he's like, Wojo's like, hey, Animal, you recording that? And I got it's funny because right, I hear Wojo say, hey, Animal, you recording that? And right after that, you hear, whoop, you hear that, and then you hear other chatter going in the background, and then of course you hear Richie, acting like a monkey out there, and with his calling, which I love, man. I do gotta say, like Wojo and Richie, like you guys, like Bigfooting with you guys is a whole different level. If you ever go Bigfooting, go with them, because you're gonna be thinking like differently after you go out with them.
Absolutely.
It's really crazy.
Absolutely. They may appear to be just not serious, but I assure you they're as serious as a heart attack.
Yeah.
Every single one of those people, Tim, Eric, Wojo, Richie, a bunch of them, too many names, but the whole group that was there, that were kind of inducted into this whole project and everything, serious as heart attacks. We joke around, and I tell people all the time, is you better have a good sense of humor, because in the end, you're going to need to sit down and decompress and say what the heck just happened to me. Like hearing that, for so many years, many years, is people didn't even know that it was them knocking on trees or whooping. And then finally, somebody came out and said, well, guess what? I seen them do it. So now you guys can say that it is them. I seen them do it. And I seen them talking. So, there's no brag there. There's just a fact there. And I want people to understand. If you want just a bedtime story, then take it as a bedtime story, and I'll get to it for you, so you can take your naps or whatever. But for the people who want to know information, this contains a lot of information for you, a whole lot of information.
Yeah.
Some people tell me just recently that there's too much information. just beat to the story. And other people say there's not enough information. What are you talking about? Handle what I'm giving you.
Yeah.
Decipher
No.
what I give you first.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Richie. Hey. Oh, speaking of Richie, he's in the chat here, which I'm gonna sing to him in a bit here.
Nice.
He doesn't know it yet, but no, the Volga brothers, are also another level because they're the ones who put this on. They do this all the time
Yes.
in the Cobble the Critter Cobble Mountain Festival, and then I can't express my gratitude to them because like when they asked me to come to do this, it was such an honor to go there because what these guys do, especially like when they showed me these footprints that they have.
Yeah.
And a juvenile, they had juvenile prints.
Yeah.
And when I saw these, I was like, holy crap, and they're like, you barely see them. You barely see juvenile prints, which we actually did. Me and Richie saw some juvenile prints on the there's like this, on this like little pad that they had there. There was like a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
And it's just to the Vogel. I just want to say thank you, Vogel Brothers, for inviting us to be there because I want to come back over and over again because that place is amazing and you guys are amazing. And it wasn't for you guys, like this event wouldn't happen. And like you guys said, you guys are going to prove everybody that this event is going to take off, and I believe it will be. And a lot of good stuff's got to come out of this. But Richie, I got something for you, brother. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Okay, that's enough. Happy birthday, buddy. But yeah, that was for Richie. That's enough singing that you're gonna get out of me. But we're gonna go back to Ernie here. We're gonna talk about your experience with Bigfoot that you had there at Cobble Mountain. For almost 40 years ago. Why don't you go? Thank you, Vogel brother. We love you. But why don't you go a little bit into that, how that happened to you, like from beginning to end, what your experience was?
Yeah, I'll break it down really quick for you. Some places I hunted alone. If I hunted alone, is I hunted close by, where I actually live. So I lived in Westfield at the time, so I didn't have to travel too far. But I used to hunt all over the East Coast, all over the Berkshires, Vermont, you name it. I used to hunt a lot with my brother, kind of like Tim and Eric hang out together. As my brother that hung with him, we hunted every opportunity or fished every opportunity we had. But that was a special place right there. It was a scary place for a lot of people. It still is to this day. They don't like going up there. It's just steep in all kinds of folklore and everything else. And I chose it just because of that. Even the top of the mountain, hunt the top of the mountain. I understood that, there was a lot of apple orchards around there and farmland, and people from out of town were reluctant to go into the woods. No matter where you go, they're reluctant to go into the woods. We call them roadside hunters. 200 yards in the woods is as far as they're going to go. So I figured that I need to go in deeper and get up above because the deer are going to go up there because the deer know that you're not going to want to do it. So that's what I was doing in there. And I actually, I had to use topographical maps back in the day, so I had to check my wind direction. I had to check the weather for the next day. And that's what I did. Bottom line is I chose to go in on the Granville side of where the Granville Reservoir is across the street from Cobble Mountain. You go up that entranceway there on the access road, and there's an old rock there called Indian Rock. You go by that Indian Rock and you proceed on your next, call it cutoff on your left-hand side there to go up the mountain, make your way up the mountain. I had done a lot of on the topographical maps. I would mark down where I was finding deer sign, whether they're rubs or scrapes or what was going on, and figuring out where they were traveling to, where they were possibly bedding down, And I had determined that I think it was about 3/4 of the way up.
Yeah.
There's these outcropping. There was an outcropping of boulders. Boulders are still there, but you can't see them like I saw them back then. When we took that tour up there, it was really heavily overgrown. I was blown away.
Yeah.
But and they're big boulders, huge boulders. But I knew that the deer were bedded down in there because I had
Mhm.
the area, and my objective was to come up that trail and get ready to go in there where the deer were in between these boulders and get myself a deer, you know. But as I got up near the boulders, I was still on the access road. They jumped. I heard them jump up, and they started traveling directly away from me. If I was facing the boulders, it'd be like 12 o'clock, directly away from me. But I knew that the access road that I was on actually hooked a little bit to the right and paralleled what I was hoping that they were going to do, because I knew the area very well, and I could cut them off. I could ambush them if I could get out in front of them. There was a big chance. There was a huge chance, you know. But I was desperate. I needed to put some meat on my table, and it was crispy out that morning. So I proceeded to go up that access road, and I was doing what I like to call a two-step. I was trying not to sound like a human being, you know, just trotting along. I was trying, if they heard me, I wanted to sound like maybe a four-legged animal, you know, hopefully a squirrel, but I don't think I would pass for a squirrel, but I was trying to be as quiet as I could.
Yeah.
When they moved, I moved, and where I found opportunities to move faster, where the ground was just like bare rock, I would move along that rock. You heard me say it was crispy out that morning. I could see my breath. You know, a little bit of frost. It was the first week of December.
So it was cold out.
Last day. Well, it's probably, I don't know. From looking at my breath that morning, I figured it to be probably like maybe 32 degrees. You know, you can tell if your breath goes out in front of you and hangs there. Darn cold. Okay, if you got to huff at it, then it's really not all that cold. You're working yourself to it. You're going up this the Drake Mountain thing there, so you're working yourself.
Yeah.
Your heart rate down.
It's a workout.
It's a bit of. I was in pretty good shape. It's a bit of a workout, but you know, you pace yourself if you can. Keep your heart rate down. You won't get as sweaty.
Unless you're like older like us, and you're like,
yeah.
I need a drink.
But I managed to slowly gain ground on them and get out in front of them. And there was a spot that the access road, it went straight, but also there was a dog leg that hooked back around.
Yeah.
Right in between that dog leg and the access road that I was on, there was a stone wall, and there was some beech nuts in there, just saplings and stuff, you know. And then on my side of the stone wall, there would have been a couple of big pine trees. It wasn't all overgrown, so if they came over that stone wall, I'd be able to see them, and that was what I was hoping for, you know. To keep my heart rate down was a bit of a chore, because I was excited that they were falling for this ambush thing, you know.
Chicken.
Yeah, when I come up on that corner though, I checked that area out. I looked at it. I didn't want to scare up a turkey or a squirrel or anything like that, and scare them deer or alert those deer. There wasn't anything there.
Wow.
There wasn't anything there, Josh, you know. So I took up my position. I came in on the corner of that little dog leg there, facing the stone wall, and I crouched down just a little bit, and I could hear the deer coming, and then I picked up movement on my left-hand side.
Wow.
Just under my peripheral, you know. So I'm thinking that I've got something on the ground over there. I don't know what it is, but I need to take a quick glance at it. You know, if you're a hunter, you're trying not to move your head or anything else. You're going to basically move as little as you can, and then move your eyes.
Yeah.
And I got my 12 gauge up. I got it pointed towards the stone wall at this time, but I need to check this out. And I thought that it was a deer laying down. its head on the other side of a tree, because it's a silhouette, and it's about 35, 38 yards away.
Mm-hmm.
That was my original thought, was 35 yards. I was on a podcast where the artist drew all this stuff for me, I put it on the Etsy store I was telling you about, but she dropped a pin on me where I was standing, dropped a pin on that spot. It was 38 yards I come up with. So I used to bow hunt too, so I was right within that range. It just it started scrunching up towards the tree, So now I'm thinking that it's not a deer. I'm trying to take that peg and put it in a hole.
Yeah.
Not a deer. It's a big-bodied animal. It's got to be it must be a bear that was laying there or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still trying to remain cognizant of everything on the other side of that stone wall because I want a deer. I don't want a bear. I want a deer. I don't have a permit for a bear. I don't need to get in trouble. I have heard people tell me, well, why didn't you shoot it if you thought it was a deer? You tell me why I didn't shoot it. There's two big reasons, and one of the reasons why, because I was taught never to shoot a deer laying down.
Mm-hmm.
They put my family put the fear of God into me that the warden's going to know that you shot a deer that was sleeping and you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So I was actually hoping that it was a deer that would get up, but it never did. It's crunched up to that tree, and it was big bodied. Now I'm thinking a bear. Now I'm bringing my shotgun towards it. Okay.
Wow.
I'm still trying to hear everything on your side of the stonewall, but I'm bringing my shotgun towards it because if it's a bear, and I didn't see it to begin with, it might have come out of a tree or something, and it might have cubs, and I don't need it bum rushing me.
Nope.
Sure, I don't want to shoot it, but I don't need that. And what it does is it scrunches up to the tree more. Now it's the silhouette of a man. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a man hugging the tree with his head on the left-hand side of that tree. So now I'm bringing my shotgun fully back towards that stone wall. I'm still kind of scrunched down a bit. I do want my harvest, and I'm thinking in my head now that this is a guy, he must have been sleeping on the ground, highly unusual to be in this area, but he must be hearing the same thing that I'm hearing. These deer coming through, so he's going to want to get a shot off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there his head is on the other side of the stone wall. And now I'm saying to myself, if them deer come over that stone wall and they go between us,
Mm-hmm.
he's going to shoot me. He's not going to see me. He's going to shoot me by accident because Massachusetts, it's shotgun only.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody likes to carry buckshot. I don't, unless it's, I need to go into some heavy brush mountain laurel, and I need it for self-defense, or I think I'm going to need it for self-defense or to finish something off. Yeah, so I decide I'm going to move up a little bit, just a little bit, so that if he puts his head around my side of the tree, he's going to catch me in his peripheral. That way there he'll know that I'm there because he's going to be focused over there, So I just moved up just a little bit. I'm still crouched. I've just moved up just a little bit. Now he's fully erect on that tree there. He's standing up, and I'm saying to myself, this is the biggest man I've ever seen. I've seen some big guys. I said, this is the biggest man I've ever seen. I said, if all is said and done, I get to go over there, I need to know how this is incredible. So I'm looking at the tree again, and I'm looking for, like, give me a twig, give me something off that tree. I don't see anything on that tree. And I see a piece of moss.
Wow.
And that's like the back of his head, because he's got his head around the outer side of the tree. That's like the back of his head, but the top portion of his head. So I'm memorizing where that is on that tree.
Mm-hmm.
It proves out that I'm going to need to measure that off right there for sure. About that time is all hell broke loose on the other side of that stone wall. It was knocked down. I can't even express it to anybody. It was beyond belief. It was something. It sounded like something came out of the trees. Yeah, I heard boulders. I heard not just stones. I heard boulders. I heard boulders like clacking. Like if you dropped a boulder on another boulder, like a bowling ball hitting another ball, it clacks like that. That's what I heard, and I heard limbs breaking, not branches. I heard limbs breaking. So I immediately got the impression that it was not deer fighting, that it was
No.
something came out of the trees, and that's when he stepped around my side of the tree.
Dang.
Right foot, right arm holding the tree. He put his right foot onto my side of the tree, and then he brought his head around my side of the tree, and it was right then and there. Right then and there, I knew I knew that this was not a normal man.
No, I know my butt cheeks, like Sean was saying, swamp, but I'd be sweating my butt off right there
You have
in
some
that situation.
now, but I didn't have that information. You know, I didn't have the information, and I was trained not to run anyways.
Yeah.
You know, I was very analytical, using my prior service and stuff to take in information. You know, so I'm looking at this. I'm saying to myself, "This is incredible. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what to really do." So I got my shotgun. I got my shotgun shouldered, and I got it pointed pretty much right at him. And he's looking over that stone wall, and then he catches me in his peripheral.
Dang.
He looks over at me, he looks back over the stone wall, and then he snapped his head right back at me. Like he was completely surprised that I was standing there. He did not think or suspect for 1 second. He was completely focused on what was going on the other side of the stone wall, and I knew right then and there that he was probably set up on an ambush point, that there was more of them, possibly, I'm just going to say possibly, more of them on the other side of that stone wall, and they were hunting the same deer as me. That's what I'm going through my head. Well, he snapped his head back at me in disbelief and took a look at me. He fully came around that tree. Came around that tree. He brought his left leg around between his right leg and that tree and paired off squared right off to me. And his left hand was holding the tree, and he let go of that, and he was squared off right at me, looking right at me.
That must have been intense, like just that whole experience.
I had my 12 gauge pointed right at his chest, right at the middle of his
wow.
I didn't know if that was the right spot. What do I know? What do I know? You know, I don't know. He looked very human like. You know, I don't know what's going to happen here. And then he does something totally bizarre. I'm seeing a Sasquatch. This is not a man. This is not a bear. This has got to be the only thing it can be, you know, is a Sasquatch. Because I could say Neanderthal from the books, from history books, but even then, it was huge. It was immense. That's not what I expected a Neanderthal to look like, nor with the hair. They don't have them looking hairy like that in the books, you know? So he does something completely, it would have been acceptable for me at that point, truthfully.
Yeah.
That if he just said, "Hey, he's out of here," I could have said, "Hey, I guess what, everybody down at the local bar, I seen the Sasquatch," you know, big whoopee doo. Right?
Yeah.
But
people
no,
were like, "What?"
Yeah, no, he's gotta make it difficult on me. He takes his hands, and this is in that Etsy store for everybody. All these drawings were done. He takes both his hands about shoulders width, probably close to shoulders width apart. I'll show you one hand, fingers together, thumb in, palm facing me, elbows at the waist, and hands are the rest of his arms out. Okay, and he pumps them twice at me. I'm thinking. I tell people, you have to take into the situation. You have to understand the situation. What's going on? What's he trying to parlay to me? You know, what I understood was, hold on a second. And so it's blown. I don't know anything about him. I've never read anything about him. Is this something that they do? You know, I don't know. But he's pumped his hands towards me twice, and that's like, okay, I think he's telling me to hold on a second here.
Dang.
Winning me over. So I lowered my shotgun. And he starts walking towards me. And But he looks at me every time he did something. He would look at me.
Hmm.
Like the look on his face was the look of somebody that's looking at another person or a child or whatever, is like waiting for the lights to go on. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Or something like that. He proceeded to walk towards me, and then he stopped momentarily, and he takes his right hand and his closed fist, pointer finger out, um, and points it right to the center of my chest.
Oh
And
wow. Did he touch you? Like literally?
I could feel it. I could feel the inflection of what it was kind of doing. I'm trying to
Man.
figure it out. It's trying to communicate with me. It's obvious. It is.
Yeah.
Why should I fear it? I mean, if it didn't want me there, it would have ran me off, I figured, or would have bum rushed me, or would have picked a stick up or a rock or whatever and thrown it at me, or just started
Yeah.
noises at me, but didn't. It used like that sign from ancient language evolution.
Hmm.
Pointed its pointer finger directly to the middle of my chest, me first, and then himself to the center of his chest.
Wow.
I'm thinking to myself, what is this? What I'm trying to figure out, what is this going on? What is happening? What is
Hmm.
it trying to tell me here? I'm trying to take in. I'm doing a body check, truthfully, on my own self. I'm checking wind direction again. Plane flew over me going to Bradley. I heard the plane. I even took a little glance up. I couldn't tell you what time it was. I know it was 10 or 11 minutes after the hour.
Hmm.
I'm sure if I did regressive hypnosis, I could tell you what time it was. I looked at the stock on my shotgun because my barrel was pointed down at this time. And there's a compass on there. I don't believe it really works. It's
You're like you weren't sure what was going
Oh,
on.
it was to make it look good. It was a hand me down. Okay,
Yeah.
I still have it to this day.
That's awesome.
I mean, everything that I could possibly do, I was
Hmm.
checking and trying to keep an eye on him. And he starts walking towards me again. And again, he's looking at me and gives me that little look. And as he walks closer, he takes his hands in the same position, but this time he's going to take his palms, put his palms down. I'm like, man, I said, I don't know. I said, I think there's going to come a time where I'm going to have to parlay some of this information back to him.
Mhm.
Like, do I understand? I'm standing here like, for lack
Yeah.
of a better word, an idiot. I'm going to be an idiot and try to communicate with it. I need to try to comprehend what's going on here. During those moments there, that knockdown drag out pretty much was almost ended, completely ended. But it
Wow.
was going on. I'd have to say that was going on for a minute or two, right there. That knockdown drag out. That for me was a little bit disturbing. But my focus was on him, and he had his palms down in that position that I described, and then he turned his palms up, and that's when I started getting impressions that what these things are meaning. You know, that pointer finger was, and I've had some people interpret it, and it all means the same thing. Whether it's master of the woods, whether it's we are brothers or we are equal, they all mean the same thing. And he pointed to me first. He wasn't pointing to it meant that I was not greater, or he was not greater than me. We were equal.
Yeah.
If we changed that and we went to a bar and we pointed to ourselves first and to another person in the bar, yeah, we're picking a fight. Okay,
Yeah.
that's not what he did. Okay?
No.
He was winning me over, completely winning me over. So he had his palms up. So I took that to mean right there that he had no food. He was looking for food. Now I'm like, yeah. Well, guess what? I don't have any food either. But there.
Like, do you have a burger?
I'm going to tell you right now, I really wanted to, towards the ending there, I really wanted to. I wish I could have sat down with him and had a cigarette with him, or something. That's where this
I would
was,
have been asking him so many questions.
that's
if it
where
was-
this was kind of going.
yeah.
For me, anyways, I was like totally like, it was just unbelievable. I wasn't afraid at
Yeah.
all. He was winning me over, and then he walked closer to me. And this time when he walked closer to me, he pointed over my shoulders, over my left, over my right. I took it to mean, where did you come from? Because let's face it, he was taken aback. He was surprised, totally in shock that I was standing there. He had to do a double look on me. That's what the situation was. For me, anybody can interpret it any way that they want to.
Yeah.
But he wasn't telling me to go anywheres. Some people say that. I think he was telling you to get out of Dodge. No, he could have ran me off. He could have bum rushed me. He could have bent my gun around my head. He was huge.
Yeah.
He was massive.
Especially someone that big.
Yeah, he walked closer to me.
Dang.
And when he got closer to me, it's been a long road to describe this to people. I used to have a really, really, really tough time telling this to people. But he was close enough to me that he put his hand between the two of us, palm up. Before his palm was up, I could see the back of his hand. I could see his forearm. I get to see the hairs on his arms. I stood below his shoulder, but just a little above his bicep. Okay, and I'm not as tall as I used to be. I used to be 6'3". I think maybe I don't know. My ego would tell me I'm 6'2.5" and 3/4, whatever. But he, it kind of spooked me a little bit, and I didn't know what was going to happen. He wanted me to look at his palm, so he turned his palm up. His fingernails were clean. Where he had hair on the back of his hands, we have hair on exactly in the same place on the back of our hands, exactly. He turned his palm up so I could see it, and I had to look down between the two of us. And his palm was only like probably waist high on me. He picked his arm up, so it was pretty darn close to my face. Wanted me to look at it, and I was trying to move my hand down to my sidearm. I had a sidearm. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm really a little concerned here, and I figured that if something does happen, my only hope is to pull it and put it right up underneath his chin, right underneath here, and let one off. I knew there was more of them, but what's your way out? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
I'm not going to just surrender there. And through my training, I learned that you don't want to move your shoulder when you're doing things to throw that punch or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was being pretty clandestine there, and he caught the movement, and he didn't like it, and he gave me a stern look, and he tapped his palm. He took his left hand, he started tapping his palm a couple times. He wanted me to look at his palm. I looked at his palm looked just like my palm, except it had no lifeline on it. I don't know if he was trying to show me maybe the headline, make reference to the headline, or the fact is somebody asked me, did he have a scar, which would have been a sign of the covenant. Some people look up. I don't remember that. I can't say it did. I can't say it didn't. All I can tell you is that one thing, there was no lifeline to the best of my recollection in comparison to my hand. I had to try to notice what was different about his hands. Okay? So there's a lot of information in there. Well, when he was done, I decided, well, it's my turn to parlay some information back to him, so I did the brother things, and then I put my palms down. I ain't getting no food. And then I put my finger up over his left and over his right shoulder. That was it. he looked at me, and he respectfully, it was out of respect, as what I felt, bowed his head a little bit towards me. He turned just a tiny bit towards that stone wall, put both his hands up like a megaphone to his mouth, and he let out 3 loud whoops. A second and a half in between each whoop. Okay, and I'm pretty darn good at calling patterns like that. It was about a second and a half between each whoop. And then he looked back at me and did the same head gesture again, looked back over that stone wall, and that's where I could tell you that I was below his shoulder and everything right there. We were that close. I could see the hair that I thought was black was not black. It was absolutely dark brown,
Yeah.
mistaken for black. At 35 yards, I mistook him for being really hairy in the face, but his skin complexion was like, and people have said things to me like, did you have to say like Jamaican or whatever? You describe things to me. Describe what orange is without showing me an orange,
Hmm.
or showing me, just tell me what it is. Compare it to something.
Yeah.
It was very dark brown. It could be mistaken for black. Okay, and his hair,
Wow.
right where I didn't shave it, which you can't see, but his hair went right about up to here, on his cheeks, right there. He had
Wow.
he had the brow ridge, and he had blue eyes.
That's
He had
crazy.
blue eyes, and his eyes were the color of a husky blue. They were absolutely stunning.
I
But
wish I could have seen that. That's crazy. That's
yeah,
such a beautiful story. Like
yeah,
just the emotion in it. Like I couldn't imagine like what you were going through inside when you were like face to face with this Bigfoot. Yeah, it's such a beautiful thing, especially when it was trying to tell you something
yeah.
and trying, and communicate with you. That's the oh man, I don't I don't know what I would do if it was me. I'd be nervous. I'd be like,
I never thought that I was going to relive all of that, all the
yeah.
thing, until I went to the festival up there and I started reliving it, and the family and everybody else, and then going for that hike up there. That was every step, every every
Yeah.
every moment. But after those three whoops, he did something else.
Hmm.
He looked back over the stone wall and he whistled, and that surprised me. That really truly surprised me, because that was the whistle that my hunting party used. We like that, whistle like that, come
Wow.
here, or we go like a bird or whatever when we spread out. If we want somebody to come over to us really quick or whatever, hey, we got something, we got track, we do another whistle. We knew each other's whistles. We could tell each other. And he looked over that stone wall and he did a, a come here whistle, and he took his right hand, again, closed fist, pointer finger, and he pointed back in the direction that he came from, swung his arm for whomever was on the other side of that stone wall to go in that direction. He looked back at me one last time, gave me a head gesture like out of respect, and then
Hmm.
proceeded to go back exactly in the direction that he came from. He went out to about the 55-yard, 60-yard mark, right around there, turned, and pretty much faced me, but a little kitty corner towards that section of the stone wall where there was beech nuts on the other side of that stone wall. And
Yeah.
I knew what was going on.
Wow.
I knew, I should say I strongly suspected what was going on, and then I heard it coming. There,
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't make the shot for whatever reason, and I could hear this other being coming through them saplings like he was playing parkour with the saplings and just pulling them down. Or, I mean, it was. I've heard deer run through the moose. I've run through the woods, and this was just crazy. Okay, and I'm like, oh, wow, and that's when I picked up movement, a flash of a cinnamon colored uh,
Yeah.
brown. His was dark brown, but a cinnamon colored brown, and it went over that a little bit before the corner of that stone wall, over the path that went down that dog leg there, and over Drake Brook. I caught it right going over the path, and I could
Oh.
tell what it was. I could tell it was an upright being. I did not have a real clear view, but I knew it was an upright. It was not deer or anything like that, and it jumped Drake Brook and headed right to his location. And when I say smooth, I'm talking smooth. I'm talking like a parkour master smooth. You can
Wow.
watch them guys run like they're like on springs, but do it smoothly. And this thing was fast. I've shot deer on the run, and this thing was faster. I knew it back then, and then now I'm hearing it now from people that they've had them clocked running next to the car for just maybe 10 or 15 yards, and they were doing They figured they clocked him at 52. I believe it. I thoroughly believe that. They are just so quick that's why some people, if they're going to get out of the area, some people might mistake it for something else. Say, nah, nothing can move that fast. Well, guess what? They probably mistake it for a human being too at times at a distance. But this one ran right over to that big one there, and it was taller than me because it was over that one's shoulder, but below its head. And they proceeded to have a little chit chat. You know, that was that samurai chatter. I had never heard that before. I'm trying to make out.
That's crazy.
People in the you're listening to people in the distance. You're trying to make out. Is that people talking? What are they saying?
Yeah.
You know, and I don't even want to tell people what kind of words I thought I was hearing because after all these years, people are pretty
Hmm.
close, and there's a lot of theories or a lot of hypotheses on what. Okay, you'd have to talk to, I believe, Scott Nelson and listen to what he has to say, because it is a language. But he's talking to this one, and it was like chewing it out, you know, because the next thing he does is they were going back and forth. Is he rats me out? He points at me. The big one points at me, rats me out, and the little one ducks down a little bit to see underneath this little branch, and sees me, looks back at the big one, and then does a double take on me too. Like, what, are you kidding me? You know, I think they were arguing, like, how the hell did this guy get over here? And that one was going, well, you know, whatever, like, who are you talking about? You know, what are you talking about? But my objective on doing two-stepping was to kind of become like one of them. And I'll finish that in a minute. But then he takes his pointer finger after he rasped me out, and I had planned on following him. I want to know where they go. I want to go live in the ground. You live under a boulder. You live in a tree. You live in a log. But now he's got to do the coup de grace on me. Is he points that one's chest and tells it to do a semi-circle, flank me on the right, basically by his hand gesture. Then he points to his own chest, and I think that was all for me because he could have just told it what to do.
Yeah.
But I think he wanted me to see this, and he gave the hand signal that he was going to go around to my left because I was facing them, one to my right, one to my left, and I had to make the decision right then and there what I was going to do. As I wanted to leave because that's a flanking maneuver, but I also knew that what the day would come that I would be standing before some people right here, right now, and I needed all the information I could possibly gather right from the get-go. I needed to memorize every single bit of it. So I walked over to that tree. I walked up to that tree. I figured out how to measure that tree by facing the tree, putting my hand on top of my head, taking a little bit of a step back, and then looking for that moss, and then measuring up from my hand with my finger. I'm a butcher, so I'm going to go with my tip of my finger, my first indentation on my fingers, 1 inch, and started going up. And I come up at 7 foot 8 inches tall, and this thing was ripped. This thing was, I'll say, just north of 500 pounds. You know, some people tell me it had to weigh 600 pounds. It's a good possibility, very good possibility, but amazingly strong looking, amazingly. You know, the chest didn't really have all that much hair on it. I could see the pads on his feet when it walked away. Like I said, I just needed to pick up as much information as I possibly could. I also determined that there was a little knoll right there, and like a dried out vernal pool, and I think what it did was it belly crawled up to that tree to get to an ambush point, because its job was to get at that point, and if any deer came over that stone wall, it was going to finish them off. It was going to run them down or whatever. It was going to finish them off. It was directing the other ones. That's why it was able to call the other one over and everything. But I looked for an impression on the ground, you know, and I found his impression, you know, near the tree, and then almost completely on the other side, I'd say almost completely on the other side of that Vernio Pool area. I found an impression right there. Nothing in the ground that you could mark. I didn't have my phone on me anyways. Even if I did, there's no, couldn't take a picture of them back then. All right, nobody was able. The phones weren't able to do those kind of things, and I didn't want it ringing or anything like that while I was hunting. But I decided to try to match the stride because I wanted to match that stride with the height that I measured off on the tree to make sure, so I could tell everybody someday.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do it with my stride. I fell miserably short on that. So I backed off just a hair and tried to jump into it. I was being pressed for what I deemed to be time, and tried to make that jump. And I fell short again, so I backed up just a little bit and kind of took a very short running jump, and I still fell short. So I'm confident that my measurement on that tree was 7 foot 8 inches.
Dang.
And from there, I left that.
Yeah.
I did not leave it the way that I came in. I went back down, straight down towards where I had parked my car on the Cobble Mountain side.
Yeah.
I took the steepest incline that I knew of, because I knew that if anything was to go south, it was pretty open ground, some big trees, and if they were going to try to get me, they couldn't hit me with anything behind one of those trees. If they ran down that slope, I just felt I would stand a better chance. I was concerned about that. I years later, many years later, I'd been at a powwow, and I was invited by the NA police to wait right there while they went and they got the medicine woman, or the storyteller, and to come out because I wanted to speak with her. I wanted to tell her about this. It had bothered me for so long. I had nobody to speak to. I'd already been berated by one individual, and that was enough. That's why I shut up. I thought that they would help me out, and she told me to wait a minute right there, and she went in the back of the tent area, and she came back out. She said, "A gentleman wants to speak with me." I went back into that tent area, and that gentleman's name was Chief Ernest. He was the I think great grandson of, I think it was Sitting Bull. Could have been Crazy Horse. I kind of forget right now, but we talked for a while, and he asked me some questions, and in the end, he told me, he said, "You walk in two worlds." And he said, "That's why that happened." He said, "They've always known you, they've always been around you, and they protected you." And I hear stories to this day. People say, "Where do they protect you from?" How do I know?
Yeah.
I never had anything threaten me in the woods, so
No.
I wouldn't know the answer to that. Other than the fact is that's what he told me, and now I hear people say, well, they've been protected by, demons, or, from demons, or protected from Dogman, or whatever else is out there in the woods, and that could very well be.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's pretty much it. It was a blessing being there in Cobble Mountain and trying to put some end to it.
Yeah.
Way, for me.
That.
The information I have is it's in Bigfoot Quest magazine. It should be called a journal. For people listening, if you were going to a doctor's office, you see those medical journals sitting there, and how they have valuable information in it. You might want to look up Blue-Eyed Sasquatch, Bigfoot Quest magazine by Ray Hardwood, Blue-Eyed Sasquatch. It has some very, very good information on why the blue eyes, and where we humans get the blue eyes from, and the extreme possibility, one of three, which leads back to the same thing.
Yeah.
Either they had the blue eyes first, which would have been Dysnovians, or we did, and through interbreeding. But you'll have to read the full report.
Yeah.
Okay, and all the people that he quotes in here, that he gets his resources from, are in here. It's more of a journal. I strongly recommend that. The sign language that they use in their own language, like Scott Nelson tells people, people are fully aware of. Yes, absolutely. We do not need a DB, a dead body. That's why I do this story. I want people to push, that these things are a forest people.
Yeah.
That what it used to be, what are they? Everybody knows now it's a who are they, and they are very smart. And the only way we're going to know more is if we communicate with them. We have to meet the Jane Goodall, or the Janice Carter, or the Mary Green. All of these people would speak up. Now I'm the voice.
That's awesome.
Okay? And once we're done, and we don't no longer talk, you will still be stuck on footprints.
Yep.
You'll be listening to people who tell you footprints are not a sign of existence. Baloney.
Yeah.
How do you think I've gotten deer to harvest on my table and to cook in my frying pan? It's because I've seen tracks. Okay? It is definitely a sign of existence.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. Definitely. It's now you're making me hungry now, talking about deer. Man, that was, oh gosh, man, my brain that was so amazing, Ernie. And I know we're running out of time, but I just want people to know where they could find you and your website to be able to get, because I know you have shirts that have the actual what it looked like, because like you said, they did a drawing of this shirt. So
7 months. It took 7 months to do that, back and forth.
Yeah.
Months, 2 to 3 times a week on that. I wanted the people to understand. You have ABC classifications. Look up that classification A again.
Yeah.
The account that everybody just heard tonight is not a class A. It is far beyond that. And we are a very small community on that type of an encounter for any length of period of time. And the ones that had your average encounters between 5 and 11 seconds. You have Uncanny Valley going on. You have fight or flight going on. The human mind plays a lot of games with you. Okay, the people that are in this community that had up close and personal for a length of time are less than 1% of all the accounts that you hear out there. And every single one of us are telling you the same thing. The way these things look. Okay? It absolutely is fascinating how they lived this long. I don't know, but I do believe they have something for us. I do believe that we're only going to know this by communication, because let's face it, dead men don't talk.
No.
Let's all grow up here. We have thinking outside the box, but first you have to know where your box is, everybody.
Yeah.
Or you can think outside that box. And once you're outside that box, that's where they are. They are always
so good.
When it comes to
that's cool. Where can people find your website where they could get these shirts?
Yeah, right underneath me, as you're looking at the screen right here, is newenglandencounters.etsy.com, all lowercase letters. And you'll know when you see it in here too. Or you can just send me a friend invite when I get around to it. I'll get around to it. I'll try to. We will be moving soon. So I might be not available for a little while for everybody. We'll see how that goes, but we'll be moving to Kentucky. So Kentucky.
I'm excited about that. That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
dude, that's awesome. I'm excited about your journey, man. I can't wait to see what else you're gonna do, and I definitely hope we get to meet again, because that was a lot of fun, and I'll never forget it, because that was something that I will never forget, and especially like I said, those chatters that we had in the forest that happened, and the flute, and that was awesome, man. And I really appreciate that, and I can't wait to be able to do that again with you.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing everybody.
Maybe in Kentucky. We'll do that in Kentucky.
Well, Yeah, we'll talk about that one there. You know, there's you kind of get the gist of who I am, anyways.
Yeah.
I'm no holds. I'm straight up. I'm
Oh,
all
you're
about
good,
sharing,
Stacy.
all about educational value of this, teaching people what's really going on, what you're up against out there, and I'm not for anybody who beats up uh, um, eyewitnesses or fakes or hoaxers or anything like that. And believe me, I've known a lot of them. I've actually taken a lot of eyewitness encounters from people who are now in the community. And I don't say anything about it. I can never.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
all I can do is try to keep the people. If you're in search of an answer, okay, you know where you should be going.
Yep.
This is absolutely the truth.
Amen, brother. Well, thank you so much, Ernie, man. We're gonna talk for a second before I have to head out because there's so much to go on. But thank you so much, everybody. I can see everybody in the chat now. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Pamela. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Richie and Wojo. Thank you, Gene. Thank you, everybody, for watching this show and chatting with us because this was a show to never forget, especially the just sharing what happened to Ernie, and it was definitely awesome and an adventure in itself because it brought me there. It really brought me there, and I really appreciate that. And I'm excited to see what happens next. So I will see you in the green room, and everybody, I will see you tomorrow morning on Big Mama's Radio, 7 a.m. Start early, so bring your coffee, and we're going to be talking about all news. So check it out, bigmamaradio.com, or you can get it on the app or Facebook or YouTube or whatever that you could get it. So I will see you guys later, and have a good night, y'all. Peace.
Lights on.